At the end of each year, I go through my spending for the year compared to budget and use that to adjust my budget for the next year, and 2024 is no exception. I do this in Google Sheets because I don't want to pay for an app, and it works pretty well, so come along and let's see how much I spent on average compared to budget for each category last year. First of all, phone. I do prepaid with Public Mobile, and they raised my bill by $2, but I don't really mind. I don't get a lot of data, but honestly I don't need it. New budget is $15, the value of my monthly bill. Second, car maintenance, where I ended up spending extremely close to budget, which is pretty satisfying. This covers oil changes, tire changes, plus one smaller maintenance item. I expect to spend about the same next year, so I'm keeping my budget. Next is health spending. That includes dental, skincare, and medication. I have a pretty good benefits program at work, and so I'm going to keep my budget for next year. I do have an expensive wisdom tooth extraction at some point, so there is a chance I could be going over budget, but fingers crossed that's a low probability. Fourth on the list is clothing. I'm a thrift store addict. I mean, that's where the drip is, as they say. I don't need a lot of clothes, so keeping my budget for next year. Fifth is gifts and stuff. Not only does this cover gifts for others, but also for myself. That usually includes one big purchase, and last year this was a laptop. I do feel like this category is kind of high considering that's $1,800 per year, which is a lot to spend on gifts. But people have birthdays and Christmas is a thing, and sometimes I see something I want. So I'm keeping my budget for 2025. Next up is travel. So I kind of blew way past my budget last year. That was because I didn't foresee my figure skating addicted monkey brain buying tickets to Skate Canada in Halifax. But it was 100% worth it. I really hope to go again next year depending on location, so I'm increasing the budget to $300 for 2025. Number 7 is girlfriend budget. This is basically for dates and doing stuff together. Keeping this for 2025. Number 8 is car insurance. Boring. Keep for 2025. Next up is home maintenance. It looks like I underspent, but I actually spent a lot more because I did the flooring in half the house in December. It cost me over $12,000 and a lot of headache. Maybe I'll make a video about that later. But anyways, if you break it down, unfortunately, that's an average of $1,333 per month, which is way more than my budget. However, I have learned a fancy trick for taking care of this. I just classify it as a major maintenance project and cover the extra cost from my savings, so it's fine. For next year, I've forecasted the cost of projects that I want to do and decided to bring my budget down to $600. I do have an emergency fund in case the furnace breaks or something, so don't worry about that. Number 10 is utilities and home insurance and Wi-Fi. I group these all together because they give me a good idea of the operating cost for the house, if you will. Even though internet was less than I expected, I'm paying more for gas and electricity, and the household is using more water, so I have to increase my budget to $550 for next year. Number 11 is donation. I'm lazy and I haven't started volunteering again since I returned to working full-time, but I figure the least I can do is contribute financially to organizations and people who are trying to improve society. I actually reduced my donation budget for this year because I usually donate right off my income, so I don't need to have a bulk of it in a separate category. Number 12 is the gym. I actually bought my membership on a sale day, so I get to decrease my budget to $50 a month for next year. Next up is food. I'm surprised that I spent over budget by almost $50 each month. I don't do skip and I only eat out maybe about twice a month and otherwise do meal prep, so I'm kind of wondering why did I end up spending this much? I'm going to attribute it to inflation, honestly. I hear reports that inflation has dropped to 3%, but I feel like that's a lie. But what choice do I have? Gotta increase the food budget for next year. Number 14 is gas. Now here I'm confused why I spent under budget, especially with gas prices elevated all of last year. I'm not complaining though. I'll keep my budget the same for next year, as gas prices are still high. Next up is property tax. Boring. Increased a bit next year based on the city's increase in taxes. Number 16 is Spotify. Remember when we had good old MP3 players with wired headphones? Sigh. I started subscribing partway through the year and then they raised the price. That annoyed me because they don't have great song selection in the first place and the audio quality is lower than Apple Music. I guess I'll keep it in the budget for now, but I'm not going to resubscribe unless there's something specifically I want to listen to. Next up is Stonks. This is in my budget and not in savings because it's more for fun or short-term savings. I was originally getting a financial manager to invest for me, but when I reviewed the investments, I found he wasn't doing anything fancy that I couldn't do myself, so I switched to doing it myself partway through the year. Next year, I feel more confident, so I'll be back to $400 a month. Finally, we have my mortgage payment. I finally have less than $100,000 to go. I'll just keep doing my double up bi-weekly payments. So overall, let's see my total spending budget for 2025 versus 2024. 2025 comes in at $4,926, so that's about $100 more per month than for 2024. However, if you discount the reduction I made in home maintenance because of my big flooring job last year, it's about $170 more per month, which I feel is more accurate for the actual cost of living, for a total increase of about $2,000 a year, which is about 3.5% inflation. Maybe the government is right. So, will I get a 3.5% increase at my job? Probably not, but I can hope it'll be close. Thanks for budgeting with me, and good luck to everyone trying to financially survive 2025.